My name is Dave. In all these stories, the guy is an architect. There are more guys in these love stories that are architects than in real life. I'm a facilities manager, which is about as far from designing buildings as possible. I'm the guy who makes sure the office park has salt for the parking lots. I'm the guy who makes sure the plumbing works and who gets the glass replaced when someone breaks a window. I'm 37. I guess I should say that I'm telling you this story thanks to the We Are the Music Makers YouTube channel. They tell human-written stories that they believe will make you think, hope, and maybe even believe in love. If you like my story, they ask that you honor them with a like and subscribe. I know all that sounds boilerplate, and maybe it is, but I hope someone hears my story and perhaps holds on, or falls in love, or thinks twice about walking away. I met Brenda, and I didn't think she was going to be the woman who both broke my heart and then mended it again with her own hands. Maybe I should be grateful that it all worked out in the end, but I won't pretend that there weren't a few weeks where I wasn't walking broken. I'm going to be honest. If I had known Brenda's past, I wouldn't have trusted her as much, but by the time she told me, I was hooked. Brenda was 31 when I met her. She did art, and I mean actual commissions from individuals and companies. She had started out mimicking styles from anime and manga, but as time went by, her style got more Western, a bit more realistic. But she still got commissions for anime styles, and she always did them. She had had a boyfriend, James, and they had been each other's first everything. First love, first kiss, first shared apartment, but she had succeeded just a little before he did. She had gotten commissions right about the same time he went back to school for computer science and programming. At first, he was extremely proud of her, and she was completely supportive, but even when he got his first programming job, he never quite caught up to her income. When they were 28, he proposed. She said yes, but it was right about then that she started having her first doubts. He was a programmer and also tutoring at the community college where he got his certifications, but she couldn't quite appreciate his effort. He was one step behind her. And then she started getting appearances at anime shows and video game conferences. Because his work was remote, he could go with her. He'd get up early in the morning, code for 6 hours, and they'd be together at lunch. But he was still the anonymous coder, and she was sitting at tables, signing autographs, hearing others praise, and even men, rich men, good-looking men, asking her out whenever James wasn't around, offering to buy drinks. A few times when he hadn't been able to travel, she humored them. She went out with them, had a few drinks, but she never ended up alone with them. She was never in someone's hotel room, but she never forgot how everyone loved her and how small James seemed. Maybe she had outgrown him. Maybe she didn't need him. One day, when he was out tutoring, she packed up all her things and left the ring on the kitchen counter with a note. I need more than what you can offer. I'm sorry. Within a month, she regretted it. In 2 months, she was thinking about trying to go back and apologize. But at the coffee shop she knew he went to, she saw him with someone else. That's when she started spiraling. 2 months, and he was already dating. She did a little research, okay, social media stalking, and found out that she was a ballet instructor. She was grounded, sweet, and always looked at James like she adored him. A month after she discovered the relationship, there was a picture of the two together on her Instagram feed. The caption read, "I can't believe this amazing man was even available or that he saw me when I said hello. How many women let him slip through their fingers? What a catch." She had thrown herself into her work. She improved her art skills, took up professional crayons, and bought a set of $200 colored pencils. She didn't talk to anyone. "I was a femcel all over again," she admitted to me. Our introduction was not on her turf or on mine. It's hard to believe, but there is middle ground between an artist and a facilities manager. She was appearing on one side of the convention center, and I was attending a conference on office maintenance. When the conference was over, there was a bar in the middle of the main hall. She had been doing a meet and greet, but she casually slumped onto a bar stool next to me. I tried not to look, but she was attractive. She caught me glancing and asked, "Do you know who I am?" I shook my head. "Good. You look delightfully normal, and I've missed normal." I stared at her. Hey, a drink gets you some conversation and at least 3 genuine smiles. I slowly nodded and placed a $10 bill on the table. She smiled. "Efficient. You almost remind me of Well, you seem nice if you can hold conversation. She smirked a little, waiting for an answer. If you're with that crowd, I nodded over to the few people left coming out of the other side of the convention center. I fear that nothing I say would be very interesting. She smiled. Well, what do you do? I'm a facilities manager, high-rise or warehouse, she asked. Office park, I remarked. Touche? She responded. Natural grass or crushed rock. Crushed rock, I responded. Much cheaper, yes, but not as aesthetically pleasing. Uses less water. That is true. She thought. Is your office in the main building or a cage in the back of the building? I raised an eyebrow. That's a probing question, an unusual one, a question from someone who knows the business. She grinned. Dad was a real estate manager. I worked in his office, and the facilities manager job always looked the hardest. I laughed, then thought about it for a minute. I don't know. The groundskeeper job can be a bear. Fair enough, but you work hard. Yes, I admitted. What do you do? She sat quietly for a minute. She looked at me. I'm an illustrator. You might say I'm an artist of sorts, I thought. You must be well known since you asked if I knew who you were. She looked defensive. In certain circles, I'm recognizable. I took a drink of my beer. Recognition sometimes prefers its own, I noted. Have you encouraged attention from your peers? She drew in a deep breath, then sighed. Yes, she admitted. I have dated several, but they are, she hesitated. Boys. There was a long pause. They're irresponsible man-children who spend every dollar at every convention. Or they're weak, too timid to look at a woman, much less know how to make her feel loved. Then she paused again. Or they had a few bad experiences and acted like my gender was the problem. I see. She leaned in. You seem too mature to waste all your money. I nodded. Fair assessment. And you don't seem to resent all women for the mistakes of a few women in your past. I paused, trying not to frown. That could be a conversation in the future. She smirked. You can be angry at some women, and not all women. Okay, you got me there. So I need to know. You're here and we don't even know each other's names, but I need a moment in my life that makes my fingers and my toes curl. She smirks at my sudden glance. I want you to kiss me right now at this bar and make me feel like a woman for the first time. She paused. Since I left the only man I ever loved. I turned to face her but didn't move. Are there stakes involved here? She had the most annoying but also alluring smirk. I like how you think. A man who wants to know if he has value. She stared at me for a minute. Fine. If the kiss is good, and I mean at least a 7 out of 10, we can start seeing each other, and I'll let you keep kissing me. I decided to hold my ground. I'm out of practice. I want a dating guarantee, with chance at future kissing for a 5 or better. She thought about this counter-proposal. Fair. A facilities manager is a better pick than most of the otaku boys. She took my hand. Are you going to kiss me, or what? I glanced at the bartender, who had clearly tried to look like he hadn't been listening. When he caught me looking at him, his face turned red. Not my problem, he admitted. I nodded, then stood. Fine. I took hold of her shoulders, pulled her gently towards me, and pressed my lips to hers, firmly demanding, expectantly. Her eyes widened, and I could feel her stiffen for 2 seconds before leaning and responding. Her lips parted, and she wrapped her arms around me. For 15 seconds, the world ceased to exist. The only things that existed were her lips and my arms. Then she opened her eyes, pulled away just an inch, glanced at me, and whispered, 8.5. I looked at her, still close, and, she hesitated, I guess we're going to start seeing each other? I nodded. What's your name? Brenda, she mouthed, her eyes wide. And yours? Dave, I said softly. She pulled back, but put her hands on my chest. Well, Dave, the facilities manager, we better start getting to know each other, because you've been recruited as my new boyfriend. I thought for a bit. I see. Responsibilities? Perfect kissing. You need practice. Good start, though. Dates that involve wine and some sort of warm food. Plates are sometimes optional. Parks, lakes, and tall grass. She paused. You are entitled to make demands on me. This surprised me. I require real voice-to-voice communication, talking on the phone. FaceTime, kissing requires your arms over my neck and description of how it makes you feel. If you say it, you can't deny it later. Her face turned pink, but she nodded. And I don't have to know anything about anime, manga, or anything with tentacles. Her eyes widen, but the laugh is genuine, and she slaps my shoulder. Dave, I draw art, not anything dirty. Good, then that's easy, I remarked. She thinks for a bit. I do have to travel a little. You might travel with me. I thought about the idea. Maybe, but it might be best if I didn't pretend to fit in your world. After a minute, I said I could golf. You golf? She asked. Badly, I admitted. And you'd rather golf than hang out at my conventions. I pause. Do you have any interest in following me around the golf course? She paused. No, I guess not. Well then, we can be adults about this. You spend your time signing art and going keys with your anime fans, and I'll go out and try not to hit the water hazards. I can be done at 2 p.m. and we can have dinner and enjoy the evening. There is a long pause. Would you at least have dinner with my friends in that group when we're around? I thought for a minute, then nodded. She smiled. You are so reasonable. Some women would find it annoying, but I think it's charming. Thank you, I said. And that's how we started dating. She had sharp wit, made pop culture references, and when I got them, they were great. A month in, we were driving together to her appearances at conventions. Friday nights were always us. No fans, no distractions. We'd find a cute restaurant, and if there was a fun site, we'd go. On Saturday mornings, she'd head off to her booth, and I'd find a golf course and spend a few hours losing golf balls, creating divots and leaving craters in the sand traps that no rake could fix. On Saturday evenings, I'd have dinner with artist friends, creators, and maybe a fan that made an impression. Sometimes Brenda would introduce me as her boyfriend from the real world. That was nice. I could tell she didn't like driving, so we made routine where she would drive the first hour, and then I would put in the rest. She paid for gas, and I covered meals. Soon drawings and sketches were filling up my apartment. There were a lot of rough drafts, but there were a few cute drawings on my fridge. When she would come for dinner, she would always talk about the empty spot above my couch. Someday, I'm going to create something that will fill that space. I would encourage her, but I never believed it. Her commissions were all-consuming. She would draw from 6 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, and would only stop so that we could talk on the phone or go on dates. But one day, almost 6 months in, she got quieter. She wasn't as effusive. She complained about my golfing. She said I wasn't as devoted as I should be. I never watched her anime inspiration material. I never ordered artwork for myself. I gently told her that I would prefer to give her a gift with the money I'd be spending on her art. That way she wouldn't have to be emotionally invested in the work. She didn't like that answer. The complaints got louder, more common. One day she told me, I'm going to Columbus by myself. I need to think about what my priorities should really be. I didn't argue, I didn't plead, but I didn't like it. She went from being demanding to actively pulling away. She didn't even text me when she left, or stop by before leaving. Ominous. I began gathering her art, clothes she left, some of her art supplies, even a Henko stamp she had brought over and left by mistake. I put it all in a box and placed it by my door. I went golfing at a favorite local course, and some of my buddies must have sensed that I was off at the 19th hole. When an older man asked why I was staring at my glass of beer, woman trouble was all I said. He nodded and put a hand on my shoulder. You're sensing storms, but if you get through the storm and she's willing to be a harbor, don't sail away. I nodded quietly, doubtful, but I sipped my beer and promised that I wouldn't be vindictive or cruel. Sunday evening came around, and I knew she'd be coming home. I didn't press. I didn't reach out. She needed to figure this out on her own. At 11 o'clock, I got a text. I see how you really are. Consider us through. And for the record, you're actually a 3.5. I shook my head. It wasn't just separating. It was vindictive. Not only was she cutting ties, she was adding a wound at the end. With that, I took the apartment key she had given to me, put it in an envelope, sealed it, and added it to the box. It would be easy to leave it at her door. The next morning I got up and I took a detour to her complex on my way to work. I parked in the guest lot, took the box of her stuff up to her floor, quietly set the box at her doorway, stared at a little bit, maybe mourning a bit, and then silently walked out of the building and departed from her life. 2 days later, I got a brief message from one of her anime friends, Patricia. It wasn't dramatic, just thanks for returning her stuff. She had lost track of her stamp and she told me it meant a lot to get it back. You're a good guy. I left a like on the PM but left it at that. I wasn't part of their world, and I didn't belong there if I wasn't with Brenda. I golfed a few more times, but I was mostly quiet, putting in only the effort needed to handle my job satisfactorily. 2 weeks went by and someone informed me there was a package in my office. Package? I blurted out. I didn't order anything. Has your name on it, the security guard said and shrugged. I walked back to the back area with the cages, and leaning against my desk was a large package, maybe 3 feet by 4. It didn't look like anything for the warehouse. Maybe it was something for one of the executives, and they just had it delivered to the basement to have it installed. I opened the box, and it was a framed picture in bubble wrap. I cut away the wrap, hoping for an invoice or some other identifying paperwork. But when I pulled the frame out, I saw the picture. It was a hand-drawn image, probably charcoal with color added in. It clearly had an anime vibe to it, but the coloring was natural, almost impressionist and pastoral. There were two figures, very human, but still in the Japanese art form. On the left was a woman with light brown hair with a pencil stuck in it. She had a pink blouse, a blue jean dress, and a figurine of a character she had called Goku, or something like that. On the right was a figure wearing a red and gold polo, a white visor, khaki shorts, and blue cleats. It was clearly Brenda and me together, happy and in love. Her little stamp was on the bottom corner. I recognized the characters as hers, though I didn't know what they meant. I looked on the back. There was a note taped to it. If you can find it in your heart to forgive me, send me a picture of what it looks like above your couch. B. I stared at it. She must have spent a solid week on this, almost abandoning all her other work. She had promised, and in spite of everything, she was keeping her promise to have something wonderful hung over my sofa. It seemed cruel not to let her see it, even if it was only as a memory. That evening I went home, did some measurements, put some pencil marks on the wall, drove a nail, and hung the picture up. It almost glowed in the lamplight. I noticed that though our hands were together, my hand was pulled close to her, as if she had pulled it nearer to her. I smiled a bit, then snapped a picture and sent it off to her. Maybe an hour later, I got a message back. It's right where I wanted it to be, Dave. You put it in the perfect light. There was a long pause. May I come and see it in person? I took a deep breath. The wounds were still there. She had not just left, she had been cutting. She had made it personal. She even took the moment we met and weaponized it. I couldn't just let that go, but I figured she'd have to see it. I couldn't mirror that cruelty, especially when she had put the time and effort to make such a wonderful gift. But before I could work up the will to agree, a message came in. If you're thinking about the 3.5 remark, I didn't mean it. I think you know that. I always melted into your kisses. I've missed them. Please let me come over and prove it to you. It closed with a sad eyes emoji. I still didn't understand. I don't know why she had to put me through all this. But the older man at the golf course had said, if she's willing to be a harbor, don't sail away. I took a deep breath and messaged back. Okay, Brenda, come on over. 30 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, there was Brenda, a bottle of wine in one hand, a bag of In-N-Out in the other, and when she saw me, she threw her arms around me, holding me tight. Then we walked into the kitchen. She set the items down and then pulled me into the exact kiss that I had always thought was what drove us both wild. And though I had doubted in the moment, I could feel her leaning into me, her hands holding my neck. MPF, hold me, she murmured through the kiss. I couldn't refuse her, not like this. I put my arms around her, and after another minute, she rested her head on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Dave. Part of me knew I was throwing away something special, and after you left my things at my door, I began spiraling. I didn't know what to do. I remembered that spot over your sofa and threw myself into drawing something that would mean something to us, you and me. She pulled back, looking into my eyes. Will you show me? I nodded and led her, hand in hand, into the living room. There, with my lamps casting cool light onto the piece, it looked perfect. She smiled through her tears. It's even better than the image you sent me, she whispered. She leaned her head against my shoulder. Can you forgive me? Don't do this to me again. I warned softly. Then I look up at the image. But if you drew this because you knew we could be two halves of the same shared love story, I can let you prove that to me into the future. Yes, I realize that demanding you follow me around made you less than my lover, and being without you just made me realize how much I need you. She paused, running her hand through my hair. Thank you, Dave. I think I saw some in and out in the kitchen. I haven't eaten all day. She grabbed my wrist. Nothing? You'd die of hunger if I wasn't around to take care of you. I brought her hand up to my mouth, kissed it. I guess that means you'll have to think about my health if you ever think about breaking up again. She laughed. I'm not letting that happen again, ever. And with that, we walked back into the kitchen together.